Coming up today, time to fire up the loudspeakers once again. South Korea decides to resume anti-North Korea broadcasts across the border in retaliation for Pyongyang's latest nuclear test. The leaders of South Korea, the United States and Japan vow to work closely in their push for comprehensive UN sanctions against North Korea for this week's provocation. Plus, China suspends its stock circuit breaker rule in a bid to regain stability after two massive plunges this week alone. Stay tuned for these stories and more. Hello to our viewers around the world. It's 6 a.m. on Friday, January 8th, here in Seoul. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'm Mark Broom. And we start with South Korea's latest countermeasure following North Korea's fourth nuclear test earlier this week. The South Korean military has raised its readiness to its highest level along the inter-Korean border prior to its plan to resume loudspeaker anti-Kim Jong-un regime broadcasts on this Friday. Now, according to a Defense Ministry official, the South Korean military issued the highest level of alert to areas where 10 giant loudspeakers will be turned on at noon. So 6 hours from now, for the first time in more than 4 months. The broadcasts were suspended on August 25th last year after the two Koreas reached an agreement to promote peace in the region. The military plans to use 6 mobile speakers as well. Military officials have vowed to sternly retaliate against any North Korean provocations over the resumed broadcasts. President Park Geunhye has spoken with her US and Japanese counterparts about North Korea's latest nuclear test. The leaders vow to work towards comprehensive UN sanctions against North Korea and also seek closer ties with China and Russia, the other members of the stalled six-party denuclearization talks. Our presidential office correspondent, Song Ji-sun, has the details.
President Park Geunhye spoke with U.S. President Barack Obama on the phone to discuss their response to the regional threat coming from Pyongyang. During their 20-minute conversation Thursday morning, President Obama reiterated that North Korea's nuclear tests pose a threat to regional security and stressed that the U.S. will do everything necessary to ensure the security of its allies, including South Korea. The two leaders agree that Pyongyang has violated its denuclearization commitments with this latest nuclear test, both by going against UN resolutions barring the North from a nuclear test, and with the six-party talks, the multilateral dialogue aimed at denuclearizing Pyongyang that has been stalled since 2008. President Obama said Washington will seek the strongest and most comprehensive sanctions against Pyongyang at the UN, and said the U.S. would work closely with South Korea to that end. President Park and Obama also renewed their commitment to address the North Korean nuclear issue with the utmost urgency, as they had at their summit in October. The two leaders also vowed closer trilateral ties with Japan and acknowledged the need to collaborate further with China in dealing with the North Korea's nuclear issue. President Park Geunhye also spoke on the phone with Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe Thursday afternoon for about 15 minutes, in which the two leaders agreed to also seek closer cooperation with China and Russia. The leaders of South Korea, the U.S. and Japan also noted that Seoul and Tokyo's recent settlement of Japan's wartime sexual slavery issue, in the long run, will strengthen the allies' joint efforts to counter North Korea's nuclear threats. Song Ji-sun, Arirang News.
Now, the National Assembly's Foreign Affairs, Unification and Defense Committees adopted a resolution on Thursday condemning North Korea's recent nuclear test. Shin Se-min has the details.
North Korea's unexpected nuclear test on Wednesday kept South Korea's cabinet ministers busy on Thursday, with a number of them reporting to the parliament to give emergency progress reports. Defense Minister Han Min-gu denounced the test, calling it a clear violation of an agreement between the two Koreas struck in August last year.
Our military is fully prepared to counter North Korea and will do everything in our capacity to keep North Korea from launching future provocations.
Seoul's foreign ministry also called the test a provocation and vowed to ensure North Korea does not develop its nuclear arsenal any further.
Through bilateral or multilateral cooperation with the international community, we will make sure the North pays for its actions of violating the stability in the region through the nuclear test.
The resolution says the South Korean parliament will cooperate with the international community to resolve the North Korea nuclear issue. It also says South Korea will be at the forefront of efforts to denuclearize North Korea. The National Assembly is expected to vote on Friday, the last day of its extraordinary session, on a resolution denouncing the North for its fourth nuclear test that has threatened the peace and stability on the Korean peninsula. 신세민, Arirang News.
Now, North Korea's fourth nuclear test on Wednesday signals, really, the extent to which the regime has become isolated from the international community. Relations with South Korea are absolutely no exception, with North Korea watchers forecasting a downturn in their bilateral ties. Our Connie Kim sat down with some experts for their take on what is going to happen next.
After North Korea claimed to have successfully tested a hydrogen bomb, South Korea condemned the test, calling it a serious provocation.
이제 정부는 국제사회와 긴밀한 협력하에 북한이 이번 핵실험에 대해 반드시 상응하는 대가를 치르도록 해야 합니다.
Seoul is currently consulting with its allies to determine what that price will be. Inter-Korean relations had already been at a standstill since a vice ministers' meeting in December ended without an agreement or a date for the next meeting. Now, the general consensus among North Korea experts is that relations between the two Koreas will deteriorate further.
South Korea is expected to play a leading role in imposing sanctions against North Korea at the United Nations. There is currently no room for Seoul to make conciliatory gestures to improve inter-Korean ties.
Some experts are forecasting changes at the inter-Korean Kaesong Industrial Complex, the last remaining symbol of economic cooperation between Seoul and Pyongyang.
If tensions escalate further, there could be a situation where the complex is run with the least number of people needed to protect citizens and its property.
South Korea has already started restricting entry to the complex for citizens that are not directly related to production there. Humanitarian aid to the regime and civilian exchanges between the two Koreas are also some of the areas where Seoul is expected to limit its support. With the UN Security Council expected to impose another layer of sanctions on North Korea, and South Korea considering the possibility of pulling back on inter-Korean cooperation, many experts in Seoul don't believe inter-Korean tensions are likely to ease over the next few months. Connie Kim, Arirang News.
Now, US authorities have reportedly concluded North Korea's test involved a small explosion that could be a component of a larger-scale thermonuclear device. Citing a US government official, the Washington Free Beacon reported Thursday that the detected blast had a low yield of between 5 kilotons to 7 kilotons, and that is far less than what would be detected in a two-stage thermonuclear blast or hydrogen bomb. The report adds to growing skepticism that North Korea really did conduct a full H-bomb test as it claims. In a separate report, US network NBC cited an unidentified US military official who said Washington was aware of the North's test preparation for 2 weeks and launched drones, similar to that one there, to get a baseline air sample near the site. Sources added that air samples taken over the Korean peninsula are being analysed and that it could take some time to see the results. Now, in other news, Chinese shares plunged more than 7% in early trading on Thursday, causing the market's circuit breaker system to kick in for the second time this week. The stock market dive sent shockwaves across Asia, including markets here in Seoul, and pushed global oil prices to a 12-year low. Park Geunhye has the details.
Trading in China was halted just after 29 minutes and was suspended for the rest of the day on Thursday after the main Shanghai index dropped over 7%. The new stock market circuit breaker was triggered for the second time this week. The sluggish factory activity survey first sent stocks to dive on the first trading day of the new year. The suspension this time came as China accelerated the weakening trend of its yuan. On Thursday morning, China's central bank set the currency 0.5% down than Wednesday's fix, the lowest point in nearly 5 years.
In the face of economic slowdowns, countries are trying to boost momentum through devaluating their currencies, resulting in a zero-sum game.
Asian stocks as well as global oil prices took a hit from the news, with West Texas Intermediate sliding more than 5% to the lowest in 12 years. Japan's Nikkei shed 2.3%, while South Korea's benchmark Kospi ended down over 1% to the lowest point in 4 months. The South Korean won also slid, closing at over 1,200 against the U.S. dollar. It's the first time in 4 months that the won was traded above the 1,200 mark. Given such uncertainties stemming from Beijing, coupled with other factors like Pyongyang's latest provocation, Seoul's economic policymakers are pledging to keep a close eye on market movements.
Fears for China's hard landing and rising tensions in the Middle East are heightening concerns across the world, and we are fully aware of these threats.
The South Korean government, however, tried to put markets at ease, saying the local stock market is remaining relatively calm and that volatility will likely prove short-lived. Hwang Jie, Arirang News.
Now, as a follow-up to that report, China's securities regulator is suspending a stock market circuit breaker mechanism after heavy losses triggered an automatic shutdown, as we just heard there, for the second time in just 3 days. The Shanghai and Shenzhen stock exchanges say the change takes effect today. The regulator says it hopes the move will stabilize the markets that have been going through turmoil in recent days. On Thursday, the Chinese stock market was only open for around 25 to 30 minutes, giving China its shortest trading day in a quarter of a century. Now, a year after the Charlie Hebdo attack, to the day, police in Paris have again been confronting terrorism. A man identified as 20-year-old Morocco-born Saleh Ali was shot dead on Thursday as he tried to enter a police station in northern Paris. The man reportedly shouted Allah Akbar before he was taken down. What looked like a suicide vest was actually a fake, but the man had been carrying a knife. The suspect was also in possession of a sheet of paper with an ISIS flag scrawled on it and a written claim of responsibility. Police say the man was known as a petty criminal, but was unknown to intelligence services in France. The terror level threat in France remains extremely high. Back here in Korea, and a former opposition leader who walked away from the party he co-founded has announced that he will join his old colleague's new party. Kim Han-gil is joining forces with tycoon-turned-politician Ahn Cheol-soo in the hope of having the party ready for the general election in mid-April. Lee Soo-eun has this report.
Two big names from the opposition are reuniting and joining forces. Representative Kim Han-gil announced on Thursday that he has joined the team for a new party in formation with Ahn Cheol-soo as the leader.
We held talks and decided we will be together in founding a new party.
The two men co-founded and once led the main opposition New Politics Alliance for Democracy Party, which has since changed its name to the Minju Party of Korea. Ahn left the party in December last year, and Kim left earlier this month. With that, experts predict more opposition lawmakers will follow in Kim's footsteps, possibly shifting the balance of power in Korea's political landscape.
More lawmakers who will or have already defected the opposition party will join Ann's party. Also, from now on until the party is founded in February, there will be related news frequently being published. In that case, it is probable the April elections will be a three-party competition between the ruling Saenuri, the main opposition, and Ann's party.
By Thursday, Ahn's new party had already garnered a public support rate of 18.2%, reaching close to that of the Minju Party of Korea at 20.8%. Ahn's new party is expected to finish its founding process by February 2nd. Lee Soo-eun, Arirang News.
Now, Korea's largest automaker, Hyundai Motor, has unveiled its first local eco-friendly car. Hyundai says the Ioniq disclosed to the media during a preview event on Thursday, will be the beginning of a bold new change for the company. The auto titan has also launched a hybrid version of launched hybrid versions of existing models before, but this is the first time Hyundai Motor is making a completely green car from scratch. The Ioniq will be equipped with a 1.6-litre GDI engine as well as a high-efficiency motor. The official launch is scheduled for mid-January in Korea. For overseas markets, Hyundai expects to launch the Ioniq in the US in October. There are also plans to push for sales in the Chinese market, but no detailed schedule has been disclosed as of yet. Well, that's all we have for now. I'm Mark Broom. The weekend is almost with us, so have a great day. And thank you as always for watching. Goodbye.